find that there's simply no point to having discussions between atheists and theists. We look at the world in radically different ways, and the things about which we choose to be inflexible are the things which will forever keep us from seeing eye to eye, from finding common ground. They tell me that I have to believe without proof, that I have to have faith in God, and that's the one thing I will never, ever do. If you cannot prove your case, if you cannot show and demonstrate with the external, physical world that your God is real, I'm not going to believe. And even if I believe, that doesn't mean that I'll follow your God if he, she, it, or they espouse values I find disgusting and cannot hold. I believe that ultra-conservatives exist, but that doesn't mean I'll follow their doctrines, and I wouldn't follow your God just because you managed to prove that the fucker exists. And it sure seems as if there is no talking theists out of faith. They don't appear to value the ability to demonstrate existence outside of their own heads the way that most atheists do. If it feels right, it must be right, or so they'd have us believe anyway. Isn't that what religious faith is? So where do we go from here? Seriously, if what convinces me is not what convinces you, and if neither of us is willing to change their mind, to think the same way as the other side, to replace their own values with the others', what conversation can we have? I had a protracted conversation with a guy on my Shock of God video, and every time I'd ask him why he believes what he believes, he'd point to the Bible or claim that it's true because God said so. When I'd ask him to prove that these things were true using facts external to the Bible or to his own head, he'd duck the question. And I honestly couldn't tell whether he was being deliberately evasive or if he didn't understand why I wasn't just accepting his faith-based answers. He told me he was just trying to make me Christian and to save my soul more than once. I'm not an atheist because I hate God or because I've rejected God. I'm an atheist because nobody can show me that God is real in the first place. It's not God I've rejected. It's faith. If your God showed up in a way that didn't require faith, I'd be a believer. But that's the one thing he won't do, and it's what makes me think he's imaginary. And to a lot of you theists, this seems absolutely incomprehensible. To you, God's existence is so obvious that we atheists have to be stupid not to see it. At a truly fundamental level, atheists and theists simply have no common ground. How do we expect to convince the other side that we're right, or even that we might have a point, when our standards of proof aren't even remotely similar, when what determines our worldview is so radically different? Unless one side is willing to have a forehead-smacking moment of realization and change their mind, how can there ever be anything other than a conversation that boils down to little more than yaha, na-ah, yaha, na-ah? How can we ever have that moment when we have such different worldviews? Seriously, this isn't a rhetorical question. What do we really have to discuss? How can we ever have a meeting of the minds? I don't know. I just know it's very important that we do, or who knows where this will end for us all. Nowhere good, I'm thinking. As far as I can see, the only good that can come of these discussions is the response of third parties, of any observers who are on the fence and who want to be swayed in one direction, or who have no good arguments for what they're already feeling and can't articulate. If I can reach one person to get them to think instead of running on automatic, it's worth it. But less and less do I see the point in talking to theists, or they to me, not unless we can learn to speak each other's language. Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. You might also enjoy my webcomic, The Adventures of Kinneara Baxter. You'll find a link in the info bar. Don't wait, rate today. Operators are standing by.